Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Friday, February 4th, 10 a.m. And we're here with on the video conference, but also at the Capitol Room 430. This is the Committee on Corrections, Military, and Veterans. We're here to hear a number of bills. Many of them worked on very hard by the Women's Caucus and other women advocate groups. Thank you to all those folks who put so much effort and time into these bills. First up on the agenda, we have, let me go over the housekeeping notes. I have a couple notes, but because morning hearings must adjourn prior to the noon floor session, not all testifiers may have the opportunity to testify in that event. Please know that your written testimony will be considered by the committee. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. The Zoom chat function will allow you to chat with technical staff only. Please use the chat only for technical issues. If you are disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note that the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on the testifier's end. In the event of a network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please avoid any trademarked or copyrighted images. And finally, please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. Without further ado, our first bill is House Bill 1741 relating to children and family of incarcerated individuals. 1741, first up we have the Department of Public Safety. Good morning, Director.
Hey, good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin, members of the committee, and Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. The department will stand on its written testimony supporting the intent of this measure and will be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have testimony from the Office of Information Practices offering comments. And DHS in support. We have testimony from the Oversight Commission in support. We have testimony from from Budget and Finance offering comments. The Hawaii Patrolling Authority offering support. Pearl City Neighborhood Board number 21, their Public Safety Committee, also in support. The Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center in support. Hawaii Association of School Psychologists in support. We have testimony from Hawaii Children's Action Network Speaks in support. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Vice Chair. We're sending it on a written testimony support. I just want to reiterate that the community has been working on this issue for a number of years in support with both the Department of Human Services and Public Safety. Having personal experience working with families impacted by incarceration, making sure that the parent-child bond is strong both during that time period and after really makes for tremendous impact on the rate of recidivism and the impact to our community. So I just want to urge your support for this measure. Thank you so much for the consideration.
You're welcome. Thanks for testifying. Up next, we have the Community Alliance on Prisons.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Ono, Vice Chair Ganadin, and members of the committee. Kat Brady testifying in strong support of this measure for Community Alliance on Prisons. You know, I'm kind of a research nerd. 50 years of research has really proven there's hardly any other issue where there is so much consensus. So this issue is really important. We know that visitation is something that absolutely affects recidivism. The premier study was done in 1972 in California, and they found that people that had no visitation were 6 times more likely to recidivate than people who had 3 visits a year. So it's really important that we keep people connected. A few shortly after that 1972 study, there was a study from Hawaii that proved the exact same thing, that visitation is absolutely a strategy to reduce recidivism. A 2014 study showed incarcerated women found that those who had phone contact with family members were less likely to be incarcerated. And we know during COVID, it's been really difficult for families to connect. So please, we urge you to pass this bill. We've been working diligently with the Family Reunification Group, DHS, and PSD. This is so crucial. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Blueprint for Change in support, from the Early Childhood Action Strategy Group in support, Hawaii Youth Services Network in support, and we have maybe 10 individuals offering testimony in support. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 1741? If not, members, any questions? Oh, Rep. Kobayashi.
Good morning. I'm not too sure who should respond, but how much would it cost? High and low, or some estimate?
I might be able to at least give a partial answer. When we were working with the Department of Public Safety and DHS, the Family Reunification Group sort of submitted, and I put the link in my testimony for their report, but they showed a blueprint of, what it might look like. And the department at that point said it would be about $150,000 to retrofit the building that they were referring to. And I'm sure now it would be a lot more because of supply chain stuff, but whatever it costs, it's really worth it to keep families together and to keep the people out of prison. Thank you so much for asking.
But that's just for the building.
No, the building is there, but it needs some retrofitting. So
Right,
they want to make it
saying
family
that
friendly.
that is all that's needed? Nothing for program costs?
Well, it's visitation. So it's creating a room that's kind of safe for children and open, kind of, so people feel comfortable meeting in there. And it would be stacked with games and some toys, no electronic stuff, because they want people to actually interact with each other.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Kobayashi. Further questions, members? Moving on, House Bill 2311. We have testimony from PSD. Good morning again.
Hi, good morning, Chair. Again, the Department of Public Safety, this is Max Otani, Director of the Department of Public Safety. Again, Department of Public Safety supports the intent of this bill. We'll be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next up, we have OHA.
Go ahead, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Shauna Piper Jordan, and I am a public policy advocate for the Office of Foreign Affairs. At this time, OHA provides comments on HB 2311. OHA has long supported the integration of culturally based models to reduce recidivism and to better rehabilitate Native Hawaiians who are or were formerly incarcerated by reconciling them with their ohana and communities. The Native Hawaiian Justice Task Force has similarly encouraged the exploration of options to address systemic issues in the criminal justice system, such as supporting indigenous models of healing and bolstering reintegration programs. OHA supports this, however, supports the intent of the bill. However, we did not have the opportunity to discuss the measure before introduction or after introduction with the Department of Public Safety, the legislature, or interested parties. So we ask the committee to please note in the committee report that OHA desires further consultation to address the intention and possible implementation of this measure. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from BNF offering comments. We have testimony from the Opportunity Youth Action Hui in support, and testimony from the Community Alliance on Prisons, House Bill 2311.
Aloha again, Kat Brady testifying in strong support of this for the Community Alliance on Prisons. You know, over the decades, I have run into people who served many, many years in prison who actually were kind of not helped very much by the state. Now they're in the community, and I have seen amazing transformation. Many of these people have gone through cultural programs that are in some of the prisons. That has made an amazing difference when people realize who they are, what they stand for, because they're standing on the shoulder of their kupuna. It makes an amazing difference in their life. This bill is so crucial because our prisons and jails are full of Kanaka Maoli and Pacific Islanders. So please pass something like this. I'm happy that OHA wants to consult. They should actually be fully in support of this. And I think the department, after they meet, they will be in support of it too, because they realize the disproportionate representation of Native Hawaiians in the system. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. We have testimony from the Women's Prison Project.
Hi, my name is Edgy Lee. Thank you for the opportunity to submit this suggestion, one of many in our, what we're calling the, the Women's Prison Project program, addressing incarcerated women, but also ideas for men's prison as well. I stand by the testimony I submitted in writing, but I want to add that the group that I'm speaking for this morning is an ad hoc 30 members from the community. We're not a state agency, nor are we representing any organization 501c3. We are the community who has had firsthand experience and knowledge working with or related to people, friends, distant relatives perhaps, and acquaintances that are subjected to what we think could be improved rehabilitation programs keyed to Native Hawaiian practices. If you would please read what we've submitted, we'd appreciate it greatly. And thank you very much for your consideration.
You're welcome. Thank you. We have testimony from 6 individuals, all in support. If any of them are here and would like to testify, perhaps Ms. Eaton. Is there a Ms. Carolyn Eaton here to testify on House Bill 2311? Are there any other of those individuals? Any other individuals hoping to testify on House Bill 2311?
Aloha, representatives. My name is Alicia Kuhio Kalani.
Yes, we have your testimony. Thank you. Proceed.
May I be able to testify?
Yes, please. We have your testimony in front of us. Thank you.
Thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much. Hi, I'm a student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, currently enrolled in the Bachelor of Social Work program, and I am testifying in favor of HB 2311. I believe one of the major social issues in the community and even in the country is the trauma that people have experienced, have not been able to address, and the behavioral results that follow. The state of Hawaii is scarred with historical trauma and colonization. Native Hawaiians have grown up witnessing the injustices done to their people, to where their culture of farming, fishing, living off the land, spiritual practices, hula, and even speaking their mother tongue was deemed uncivilized in the past. Being stripped of their land and natural resources and abruptly thrown into modernization with no escape has brought about confusion and intergenerational trauma, causing many to act, live, and deal with it through indulging in substance abuse, violence, and trauma, and even crime, even from a young age. As you know, currently Native Hawaiians make up less than about 25% of the general population, but more than 40% are part of the prison population, and 44% of them are Native Hawaiian women. I share this with you because I have been among of that population and have dealt with this type of trauma. As a Native Hawaiian recovering addict and being a part of the prison system, it has been a journey of finding out who I am, what my strengths and weaknesses are, and how to make the right choices in life. I went to numerous treatment facilities in and out of prison for the past 18 years. It took me to go back to prison to find myself and get grounded. I completed substance abuse treatment, life skills training, self-development classes, college courses, worked a job I enjoyed doing, exercise, but what made me feel whole was practicing my culture. Today, I stand before you with a degree in Hawaiian studies. I graduated with honors, maintaining a 4.0 GPA. I am also a peer tutor for Olelo Hawaii 101 and 102, a former Pu'uhonua program assistant helping the women at the WCCC Center with academic advising. And again, like I spoke before, I am working on getting my bachelor's in social work. But the question is, well, how do you treat, how do you rehabilitate a Native Hawaiian? Western medicine or treatment deals with head knowledge. That is not enough. It's to deal with cognitive development, whereas Hawaiian medicine or practices deal with the heart or the na'o. And it is in our na'o that we have that we feel. And so this concept, I totally understand, because in order to strengthen your na'o, you would have to heal from the hurt inside. And that is why implementing Native Hawaiian practices into rehabilitation programs or facilities is vital for reformation and healing. No ka piha pono oe, e ho'olo I ka no'o, a ho'opono I ka na'o. To feel complete, you must heal the mind and mend the heart. My story is what ignites my passion and willingness to kokua my lahui. Therefore, I highly encourage House Bill 2311 to be passed because it will create a stronger foundation in the Hawaii Correctional Facility programs and effectively expand the current system for many of my fellow lahui kanakamoli and conduct their lives accordingly in society as I have done. Mahalo for letting me share.
Thank you, Alicia, for that personal testimony. That's all the testimony I have for this bill. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure, 2311? If not, members, questions? Vice Chair.
First off, do you move your microphone right up? I do this every time. To the last testifier, thank you so much for your testimony and for coming before us and for sharing your personal journey with the committee. It's really important to hear this narrative and hear and see your face as we come to these decisions. My question is for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
Yes.
Hey, Ms. Pepper-Jordan. In previous years, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs has come before the legislature asking for better data regarding the over-incarceration of Native Hawaiians and Indigenous peoples in criminal justice. Are you getting everything that you need from the Department of Public Safety regarding rates of incarceration for Native Hawaiians? In your testimony, you note the Native Hawaiian Justice Task Force report, which was submitted in 2012 and has data from 2010. And last year, we finally funded the Criminal Justice Research Institute, which is supposed to collect this information. Do you have everything that you need to advocate?
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. We are currently working on updating that 2012 for the 2010 data at the moment at the Office of Foreign Affairs. That is in our research division. I have not been able to talk to them whether or not they need additional resources. However, it is ongoing and they do an excellent job. But once we get that data, it's a longer conversation to have because criminal justice and the representation of Native Hawaiians in the criminal justice system is systematic. It is systematic. It is there always. So it needs a comprehensive approach.
Thank you so much.
Members, further questions? Okay, if not, we'll be moving on. The chair has a quick update. The chair's computer had some sort of issue and is undergoing surgery of some kind right now. I'm here present and hopefully back on Zoom shortly. But nonetheless, we'll continue. House Bill 1778 relating to the Comprehensive Offender Reentry System. First up, we have PSD.
Hey, good morning, Chair. Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. The department supports this measure, the intent of this measure. However, we would ask if this bill could be held. Presently, PSD is doing some internal changes, and which involves redescribing a program specialist to focus on offender needs and assessments. And we would like the opportunity to be given a chance to implement the internal changes on our own. And we'll be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, understood. Next up, we have testimony from the Women's Prison Project.
Aloha, everyone, and thank you for having this meeting and being interested in this bill, HB 1776, that would support community work furlough for women who are coming out of prison, which is really vital for them to desist from crime. All the research shows that having a job and being able to be successful working, it's something that you care about, is really important. So if you have any questions, otherwise and I'm with the same group that Edgy Lee is with, the Women's Prison Project.
1778. Yeah.
1778. Perhaps we.
Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong bill. Sorry. I have a whole
That's
stack.
okay. We'll come
Sorry.
get you. Yep. We'll
What
come
was
get you
this one?
soon.
I forget. I forgot even what. Oh, this
Ah.
was the assessment. Yes.
Assessment. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. Very good. Need that. Need a female assessment, because women and men are different. In case you didn't notice, I'm sure everyone did. But yeah, we need a woman's one.
Okay. Understood. Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Walker.
Sorry.
Not a problem. I have testimony further from two individuals, both testifying in support. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 1778? Members, any questions? Okay, Vice Chair.
To Director Otani.
Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
In the forthcoming reorganization of the department that you're requesting from the legislature, are you going to be implementing these gender-specific risk assessment that is described in this bill, or should we continue this conversation here at the legislature to help you develop those policies moving forward?
What the plans are at this time is to take a program specialist assigned to the reentry coordination office and redescribe the position to focus directly into female offender assessments and needs and appropriate program. So it's looking into that area. Right now, a lot of the risk assessment tools do cost money if you're going to implement them. So, this would be another analysis that we would have to do, whether or not the department would need to come back to the legislature to ask for money to implement this new assessment tool. But we're still at, the reorganizational phase at this point, but that is the intent of the department. Should the department split, there would be no change as far as the direction that we plan.
Thank you.
Members, further questions? 1778. Okay, thank you, members. Moving on, House Bill 1776. First up, we have PSD once again.
Okay. Good morning again, Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. would stand on our written testimony supporting the intent of this measure and would be available for any comments you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Oversight Commission offering testimony in support. We have the Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women offering testimony in support. Budget and Finance offering comments. Common Cause Hawaii offering testimony in support. 1776, we have the Women's Prison Project offering testimony in support.
Yes, I already said
Lauren?
yeah, we support it. It was what I said before. It's about work furlough for women coming out of prison, that they need support in work, that's a very important element of desisting from crime. How you stay crime free is having meaningful work, having something that you do that's meaningful. And, you know, obviously the economic part of it, most people in prison are economically disadvantaged. They're the poorest people usually. So we need these programs, work furlough programs for women, especially women too, because women don't have as long of a history of working, you know, in the whole spectrum of civilization, Western civilization. Women didn't work originally, you know, so they really need support.
Understood. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thanks.
Yep. We have testimony from the Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice.
That's me again, Lauren Walker. And for the same reasons, we support it.
Understood. Thank you, Ms. Walker. Testimony up next from the YWCA. Oh.
Hi, this is Jen Wilbur, Director of Advocacy for the YWCA Oahu. To stand on our written testimony, I just offering a small amendment. I just don't want the bill to get held up later by that small change.
Understood. Yep, we reviewed that. Thank you. We have testimony from the ACLU of Hawaii, House Bill 1776. In support, offering comments. We have testimony from the Hawaii Substance Abuse Coalition in support, and testimony from 3 individuals on House Bill 1776, all also in support. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 1776? Oh, Ms. Brady,
Aloha.
okay. I'm sorry, I overlooked you. Please proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. Kat Brady testifying in strong support for the Community Alliance on Prisons. You know, the whole system is basically based on medium security, violent men. Women get lost in that. And currently the January 24th population report from the department shows there's 3,688 men and 411 women. So women kind of get lost in that big pool. And it's really important because most of the women are mothers. They need to acquire skills to support themselves and their families when they're released. We need to understand that people in prison, as Lauren said, many start from a very disadvantaged position. Let's skill people up so that they can re-enter the community as returning citizens with the skills they need to support themselves and their families. Please support this bill. It's so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here further wishing to testify on House Bill 1776? Members, questions? Vice Chair? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. We'll try and keep it brief. To Ms. Wilbur with the YWCA.
Yes.
It was publicized throughout the state and throughout our community just a few years ago when funding to the YWCA in Fernhurst was threatened to be cut. Can you explain what kind of programs were on the chopping block just a few years ago?
Yeah, so we run the only community-based work furlough in the state at the moment. We would like to see it expanded throughout the state, through all counties, so women could be re-enter the community in their own communities if they're not from Oahu. But we provide workforce training, help them get a job, just help them reunite with their families, help them recover from different traumas so that they and triggers. So when they go out into the world again, they are better able to and equipped to deal with handling everything. But really setting them up to be self-sufficient and good neighbors again. But just giving them all the things that they need, access to affordable housing, they need good paying jobs so they can support themselves, so they just don't fall back into those same ways of life.
And many of the individuals you work with, they're mothers as well, right?
Yes, 80% of the women that come into the our program are mothers, and many are mothers before 18.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Members, further questions? Thank you. We're moving on to House Bill 1779. First up, we have PSD.
Good morning, Chair. Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. Department supports the intent of this measure. We also like to make comment that during the first year of the grant that we experienced, we had five inmates that obtained their GED, and as of January 22nd, we had a total of 9 total from WCCC. Be available for any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from BNF offering comments. We have testimony on House Bill 1779 from the Women's Prison Project and the Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, this project started with one of the governor's grant for COVID educational loss, and it has been really effective, like Max said. The women's prison, the average people that passed a GED there were only 3 a year, and since we started this program, where we trained other women in prison who had a little bit of college, because, you know, our people in prison only have, their grade level is only, the average is only 5th, 6th grade. So, but we have some who went to college. And so we recruited some and trained them how to be tutors, and they tutored their peers on GED. And 9 women have passed so far, just in 6 months. So this is a very successful program. And it should be replicated at other prisons, but it should definitely be kept at the women's prison. And it also supports higher education, besides continuing education, but higher education. Like Alicia shows, you know, and this is what we need, is more Alicias. Alicia, you know, yeah. So if you have any questions, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Community Alliance on Prisons.
We're in strong support of this. Something amazing happens when women work with women, and great things can happen. So actually having peer tutors is really brilliant, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from 2 individuals, both in support of House Bill 1779. Are any of those individuals here present to testify? Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 1779? Members, any questions? Moving on, thank you. House Bill 1780. First up, we have PSD, Director Otani.
Hi, good morning, Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. The department would offer comments in this measure. While we know and understand that the importance between the bond between mother and child is important, having children while the person is still incarcerated poses a great liability, potential liability for the department. ask that this be considered as post-incarceration and pre-incarceration types of services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the judiciary in support. Budget and Finance offering comments. Testimony from the Community Alliance on Prisons, House Bill 1780.
We just support this. We think that the bond between mother and child is really important, and we've seen it broken in too many cases, and then their children become wards of the state. That is a problem, and we need to avoid that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Women's Prison Project and the Hawaii Friends of Justice and Civic Education.
Yes, we're in strong support of this and have visited many prisons all over the world that allow children in prison and residential treatment places too that have children. It's really important. And it actually creates a better atmosphere for everyone to have children there. It's a remarkable, positive thing, despite any liabilities.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Hawaii Substance Abuse Coalition in support, and testimony from 2 individuals offering support. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 1780? Members, any questions? Thank you. Moving on to House Bill 2257. We have the Department of Public Safety.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Maxwell Department of Public Safety. We would stand on our written testimony offering comments on this matter and would be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have testimony from the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. In support, Budget and Finance, offering comments. The Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice, offering support. The Women's Prison Project.
Yes, we support this bill too. And this is for the reentry planning circles, right? 2257. Yeah, we've been researching this for 15 years, and it works to bring healing to families who have been harmed by losing a loved one to prison. And it helps the person in prison too. It reduces repeat crime, which is huge. And we just did a giant study. I attached it if you want to see the summary to the study. We modeled what would happen if we reduced, because we reduced recidivism, and our research was so good. We had a control group of people who wanted to have one of these circles, but they couldn't have one because we don't have resources for everyone. But the people who did get one, they had significantly less repeat crime, 3 to more years after being out of prison. So this is important all around and should be replicated. It's being replicated in other countries and states, but our state so far hasn't supported it, except a little bit in the GEAR grant we just got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Community Alliance on Prisons, House Bill 2257.
Aloha again, Kat Brady, testifying for Community Alliance on Prisons. Oh, we love this bill. Restorative justice has been an amazing process. And Lauren and I actually started this in 2005. And then in 2007, it was enshrined in the Hawaii's reentry law, which is 353H. It should be, the reentry law said it should be available in, statewide. We definitely agree, because the circle process is something that really helps somebody. It's very specific, it's solution focused, and it basically creates a team that's going to help the person when they re-enter. It's amazing and wonderful. And families, I think we have a 99% approval rating. from evaluations, because families have actually been able to talk about things that they have never talked about before. And one thing that sticks in my mind is somebody who was he was in prison for drugs. He was paroled, but he said, oh, I'm working with a bunch of guys. Can I just stay a little longer and finish their course? And he really wanted to go back and take care of the things that he messed up in his community. That is so amazing when that happens, when somebody realizes, wow, the impact of their actions, because crime is kind of, I want that, and people go for that, and they don't know about the people, and they don't think about the people who get caught in the middle. So this is really, really crucial, and I really hope you pass this with funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from 2 individuals, both in support in House Bill 2257. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2257?
Representative Sunny, hello,
Yep.
can I
Yep.
testify? I know I did not put in a testimony.
Yes, you
However, okay, great, thanks. I just wanted to let you know about this Huikai circle. I actually am a product of that. This is when Judge when Prosecutor was Judge then, and he came in and he actually helped me. It's sort of like a ho'oponopono. And Lauren Walker was there, Kat Brady, thank you folks. And I just want to let you know that these circles do work. And I have been in furlough. I went to furlough in December of 2016 and been out ever since. So I am in support of this bill. Thank you for letting me share.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that, Alicia. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2257? Okay, members, questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Okay, Rep. Moikawa.
Thank you. For PSD, I'm looking at your testimony, and it seems like you're saying that reentry circles, the money would best serve diversion programs. If this passes, would you support this? Because when they're in jail already, obviously, they need help to get out.
Yes, circles are being provided within the facilities now. I think in our testimony, we're saying that if the intent is to reduce the population in our facilities, then this may be a good program to use as a diversion before they actually enter the facilities, and possibly on probation also.
Thank you for that. I just want to clarify that you still support it if it goes through. Thank you.
Vice Chair?
To Director Otani,
Yes.
for the circles that are currently happening, who leads them? Are they employees with the Department of Public Safety? Are they trained social workers who come in on contract? Are they volunteers? How does this play out?
We haven't had circles for a while now because of the COVID outbreaks and allowing people into the facilities. Like Lauren does it. Yeah. Lauren runs those circles at Guayaba.
Well, actually, we're doing them at the women's prison right now.
Hold on,
We also
Lauren.
have
Hey.
hi. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hold on a bit?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Vice Chair.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we have done, oh, sorry.
Hey, Lauren, wait
That's
until
you
someone
guys.
calls you.
Oh, okay.
Lauren, the procedure is one where the members get to call up who they asked a question.
Okay,
So
sorry.
Vice Chair Gannon has the floor. Vice Chair Gannon, would you perhaps want to ask Ms. Walker?
Yeah, let me redirect the question that I just asked for Director Otani to Ms. Walker. And again, my thanks to Ms. Walker for her enthusiasm and for her work in our community over the last several decades.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Representative Gannon. And yeah, so we've provided these, we developed this process, like Kat said, years ago. We realized there was a need, and reentry planning is really vital, but it's what we usually do is a case plan that anybody does, right? This is driven by the person instead, it's about what the incarcerated person wants, not about what a social worker wants. And we train people how to do this. Sunny, Representative Gannon, we train them. We have social workers who do it, but we don't think it should be embedded in the department or the government. We think it's better provided by a community service organization, by a nonprofit, because it is solution focused, very positive about people. So we don't have a lot of, we don't do normal, like go back into the history and find out all the bad things someone did. You know, we're very much like what you want now, and we look at their strengths. What are they doing good? And focus on those things. I think that's why it's really powerful.
So to follow up, would it be better if this funding were directed to nonprofit entities who have trained staff to do best practices?
Sure.
Or
Yeah. Then max, they wouldn't have to do so much work, you know. And then what we do is we collaborate with the facilities. Like we started it at Waiava, but we've done them also on Kauai. We did one, and Halava, and then we collaborate with the facilities though. Us, you know, we get in touch with the warden and have a liaison there usually.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Further questions, members? 2257.
Chair, sorry, clarification. If the money does go to PSD, are they able to contract it out?
Director Otani, do you think you could address that question?
Yes, we would have to procure the funds, the services.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Morikawa. My fault. Further questions, members? Okay, moving on. House Bill 2258. First up, we have PSD.
Hi, good morning again, Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. Department offers comments on this measure. This bill is very similar to the duties and responsibilities of the current Corrections Systems Oversight Commission. And we would also like to point out that recidivism outcomes are currently being tracked by the Interagency Council of Intermediate Sanctions. And they've been tracking recidivism now for approximately 15 to 20 years throughout the state. We'll be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. BNF offers comments. We have testimony from the Women's Prison Project on House Bill 2258.
Yes, we support this.
Great, thank you. We have testimony from the Oversight Commission, in support. And we have testimony from one individual in support of House Bill 2258. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2258? Members, questions? Vice Chair.
Director Otani.
Yes.
For this bill to not pass, would it be possible to integrate the intent of this bill into the forthcoming reorganization of the department?
As far as establishing a commission within the department?
Yes. I mean, so I think that the intent is fairly clear to do gender specific implementation here. Is it possible to do that in your plan without us passing this bill?
Yes, that's the intent of what the reorganization is about, is to look at gender specific issues targeting females. As far as the commission, I don't think a commission should be within our department because the commission will oversee the operations of the department, and should there be a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Further questions, members? 2258. Thank you. We're moving on. House Bill 2310. First up, we have PSD.
Good morning again, Maxwell County Department of Public Safety. The department will stand on a written testimony providing comments in this measure. Be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Department of DOTAX offering testimony on 2310.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Teresa Zetwick on behalf of the Department of Taxation. We stand on our written testimony, providing comments and are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Testimony from, next up from BNF offering comments. And we have testimony from the Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice and the Women's Prison Project on this bill, House Bill 2310.
Thank you. Yes, we support this bill that would give housing vouchers. It's a pilot project to give housing vouchers, childcare vouchers, and a tax credit for employers who hire women out of prison. And we think it would pay for itself too, because it would cost a lot. I mean, it's not really that much because it's over some time, but it's a lot more to keep someone in prison. It's like $70,000 to keep someone in prison, an average a year. And this would be $30,000 per participant. And like we said before, this is a group that's very limited financially. They don't have any money, and childcare and housing is vital. So thanks. Did you want to say something, Edgy? I could say that for Hawaii Friends.
I think if I start, I'll take up too much time, but please support, because it's not only the female, it's not only the mother or the grandmother, which I was very surprised to have realized that there are generational. I mean, there's in one family, I met women from the same family. It's not only them, it's their children. It's their entire ohana that is affected. And it's so tough once you're coming out of prison. If we can make it just a little bit easier, we're all going to benefit. Thanks.
Thank you, folks. We have further testimony from two individuals, both in support of House Bill 2310. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2310? Members, questions? Vice Chair.
Ms. Walker,
Yes, yes.
were this to pass through the legislature, are there existing programs capable of managing this pilot, or would we have to create an entirely new thing? Could say the YWCA Fernhurst manage something like this here on Oahu? Another organization on Maui, that kind of a thing, or are we talking about a major investment by the legislature to create an entirely new program, hire entirely new staff?
I think that those community organizations like the YWCA that Jen Wilbur works for, and Maui Best, or there's people. I think there are community organizations that could manage this. If they got a little support to do that. Administrative costs.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Further questions, members? 2310. Thank you. Moving on. House Bill 2312. First up, we have PSD.
Hi, good morning, Maxwell County Department of Public Safety. The department will stand on our written testimony offering comments, and department's position is that we support any effort to divert offenders safely into the community. Be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Ethics Commission.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Robert Harris with the Hawaii State Ethics Commission. Normally I'd stand on my written testimony, but I just wanted to clarify and realize perhaps we didn't address enough. The intent of this bill, it is titled establishing a commission, although the intent maybe appears to track a little bit more at the task force. If it is a commission or board, then I think there'd be constitutional issues with regards to trying to exempt from financial disclosure requirements, Chapter 84. If it's a task force, however, you may be aware that this legislature has changed the law in such a way where essentially there would only need to be a oral statement about conflicts of interest at the beginning, and essentially no further requirements to disclose under Chapter 84. So I guess the short version of this is this line that we drew in our testimony, we'd recommend pulling out. And again, depending which direction this goes, if it's a commission or task force, we can probably help advise on sort of the best way to structure this. Be available for any questions. Really appreciate the opportunity to testify. Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We have further testimony from the judiciary in support, BNF with comments, the Civil Beat Law Center for Public Interest in opposition, the League of Women Voters of Hawaii offering comments, Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice and the Women's Prison Project.
Yes, we support it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, we have testimony from two individuals, both in support of House Bill 2312. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2312? Members, questions? Okay, thank you. We're moving on. House Bill 2313. We have testimony from PSD.
Hi, good morning again, Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. The department would stand by written comments regarding this measure. Like the previous bill, we'd like to state that we're in the process of reorganizing a position within the reentry office to address female offender needs, and we would ask this committee to hold this bill to give us some opportunity to do the internal changes and see the outcomes. For any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from the Women's Prison Project and Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice, House Bill 2313.
Thank you. Yes, we support this bill too.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from one individual offering support of House Bill 2313. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2313? Okay, members, questions? Vice Chair.
To Director Otani. Is there currently a gender-specific risk assessment, risk and needs assessment for female offenders?
No, within our facility? Within the department?
Yeah, just explain how it might work. So if a female defendant is accused of a crime, is she housed, say, at OCCC? Is she given a specific needs assessment, or is it all kind of just one process, regardless of gender?
Well, we have various risk assessments. So we have a pretrial risk assessment that measures pretrial determination whether or not they'll be released. We have a inmate classification assessment that determines the level of custody classification that the individual will be housed in. And when you get into the prison setting, the level of service inventory revised is used to determine risk needs and how to approach criminogenic factors. But it's not specific to females at this time. And that's something that we plan to dig into with this reorganization.
So if you are, just follow up, so if you're a woman accused of a specific crime, say a petty misdemeanor or a misdemeanor, you could be housed in the male population?
No, they're housed in separate populations. It's just the instruments that we use are not specific to females.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Further questions, members? Thank you. And moving on to the final bill on our agenda, House Bill 2435. We have Director Otani, PSD.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Max Otani, Department of Public Safety. Department will stand on its written testimony opposing this measure as we feel it is not needed. Our departmental policies are in line with the Rape Elimination Act, and it specifically addresses gender-specific issues. So we would ask that this measure be held. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. We have further testimony from the Hawaii Friends of Restorative Justice and the Women's Prison Project.
Hi, thank you again. And first of all, I want to say that I think PSD does a good job of training people on PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act that the federal government enacted around, I think, like 2008 or something. But the thing is that even though you train people, they don't always do what they're trained to do, right? Like we've read in the newspaper about these terrible cases, like the one Marjorie Bronster just got a woman, I think she got damages of like millions of dollars. Anyway, I looked up PREA today, and PREA, I'm not sure, Max, maybe you can tell me, but section 115.5 PREA B, it says that they have to follow the pat down only for facilities with 50 or under. So what about the women's prison has over 200? And anyway, regardless of that, California passed this law in 2018. And I think that it actually codifies stronger in our law that it's against the law to do these things. And I don't see, if PSD, they said, I think that they do these things already under PREA, then what's the harm? Why is that a bad thing to go ahead and codify it? It would just strengthen the position to the people who work there that you don't do these things. You don't have men pat down women or go into a woman's dorm where could be women who are undressed. So we're in support of this. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We have testimony from 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals supporting this bill, House Bill 2435. If any of them are here and would like to testify, you may do so now. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on House Bill 2435? Members, questions? Okay, if not, thank you. We will recess for decision making. Okay, we are reconvening for the purpose of decision making on our 10 a.m. agenda. It's Friday, February 4th. We heard a number of, I think, very worthwhile ideas from many of these folks who worked in our prisons. And, the chair's intent is that some of these ideas are very good and we want to help codify them and scale these great programs happening out there with the legislature's support. So while there are already in effect, and many of the ideas perhaps are well on their way, we think that the legislature can further scale these programs with our support. So first up, House Bill 1741. The chair's recommendation is that we will take the Department of Public Safety's testimony, and we'll add that the working group will also report on the anticipated initial and annual costs to run this program. And should this bill be heard in future committees, other people who are invested in this pilot program might also consider testifying on the cost of this, as I think brought up by Representative Kobayashi. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3,000. Members, questions, comments? Vice Chair.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 1741 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Bronco.
Aye.
Representative Kobayashi.
Aye.
Representative Kong.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Tarnas.
Aye.
Representative McDermott. Excused. Thank you. Your chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. We're moving on to House Bill 2311. This was one of the bills concerning with OHA brought up with their concern about being consulted. For those folks who did testify, the Women's Prison Project, the Community Alliance, and Alicia, thank you for testifying. I do hope you can get involved and get in touch with OHA to also involve them in the plans that you have for the hopes for this future bill. And we're going to add this into the committee report, requesting that some of those groups consult with OHA to address that possible implementation of this measure. Otherwise, we'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, members?
Chair, if I may.
Vice Chair.
The known overrepresentation of Native Hawaiians in the criminal justice system has been discussed here at the legislature for going on a decade. The Native Hawaiian Justice Task Force report has introduced this information and has been shared really around the world. I'd like to note the support of many community members, the historic support of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in implementing these programs, and today the absence of the Office of the Prosecutor for Honolulu or the Office of the Attorney General. The way criminal justice works is it's spread across a variety of state agencies and across our community. So I think that if we're going to reduce the over-incarceration of Native Hawaiians in our justice system, we're going to need the input of various state agencies, not just the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Further comments, questions, members? 2311. If not, Vice Chair, please take a vote.
Noting the absence of
House Bill.
Let me start from the start.
Yep.
The recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2311. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the absence of.
And we'll vote with amendments, folks.
With amendments. Noting the absence of Representative McDermott. Are there any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all other members voting aye, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 1778. This is a bill concerning offender re-entry system. While PSD does say this effort may be duplicative or that they also engage in this type of work, once again, I think that the ability of the legislature to scale these programs and codify them is a benefit. And to those folks who did testify today on this bill and other bills that PSD similarly said are already underway, to those folks who testified, I encourage you folks to engage with PSD and engage with us to further find the best way to support these ideas. Nonetheless, I think it's too early to hold these bills, so I'll be asking the members to vote on this bill, House Bill 1778, with a defective date, July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, members? Vice Chair.
The recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 1778. Chair and Vice Chair.
With amendments.
With amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the absence of the excusal of Representative McDermott. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? With all other members voting aye, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 1776. We are going to adopt the YWCA's amendments, and that's just simply to remove the word all from page 3, line 1. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000 as well. Questions, comments, members? Okay, Vice Chair, House Bill 1776 with amendments.
The recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 1776 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting excusal of Representative McDermott. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? With all other members voting aye, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 1779. Chair's recommendation is to blank out the appropriation. We'll make some technical amendments and defect the dates to July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, 1779. Okay, Vice Chair, with amendments.
The chair's recommendation is to pass House Bill 1779 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 1780. This was a bill that would allow minor children to remain with their mothers, perhaps even in some of the PST facilities. The question of liability certainly is weighs on me. We want to make sure that this is considered in the next committee. We want to move this out. And we'll just simply ask the following committees in the committee report to take on that issue of liability in depth. I hope that in the future committee, should this be heard, which I do hope it is heard, some of the folks who are involved and have seen this program in other states or other parts of the world perhaps can weigh in and add to that discussion about who's liable and how do you make this a safe environment for those children. So with that, in the committee report, we'll defect the dates to July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, members? Rep. Kobayashi.
I'm not sure the title is good for this bill. It says relating to the judiciary.
Good eye. You know, in the bill, I don't see that exactly PSD or the judiciary is exactly mentioned. Oh, I'm sorry, the sum shall be expended by the judiciary. So in the committee report, we will ask further those folks who are involved to consider whether the judiciary should take up that liability for this program. Nonetheless, I still recommend it be voted on. Good point, though. Good catch, Rep. Kobayashi. Further questions, comments? Okay, Vice Chair, with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 1780 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Knowing the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the measure is adopted. The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2257. This is a bill that concerned planning circles. We want to take a vote on this to keep the language consistent. We're going to remove the language at least 50, and that's found on page 1, line 16. We'll blank out the appropriation. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000. And I think that should this money go to PSD, that we hope that they can engage with some of the nonprofits who also do this very fine work. Members, questions, comments? 2257. Rep. Kobayashi?
Could you add the $200,000 number into the committee report?
Absolutely, good question, good points. Let's add that 2,000 into the committee reports for the future committee's edification. Further questions, comments, members? Okay, Vice Chair, with amendments 2257.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2257 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Up next, we have House Bill 2258. This is the bill concerning a new commission concerning the women's, that would be titled the Women's Correctional Implementation Commission. Again, I want to continue the discussion on this bill while many of these ideas may already be under consideration. I think one voice that was missing and that we hope to include in a future hearing is the current Oversight Commission, and perhaps to hear from them exactly their efforts and focus on women and whether another commission is needed. So until we hear from them in person, I think that this idea should still continue forward. We certainly sympathize with the Oversight Commission and their lack of still a staff member to help them conduct their very important work. So with that, we'll defect the date July 1st, 3000, make tech amendments, House Bill 2258. Members, questions, comments? Okay, Vice Chair, 2258 with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2258 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next up, we have House Bill 2310. This was the housing voucher and income tax credits bill. For the concerns of the Department of Public Safety, who did mention that they don't have jurisdiction over individuals after they exit the correctional system, we're going to move this program instead to the judiciary to implement. And based on DOTAX's testimony, who brought up some points about verification processes, we're going to add language to first require that agencies report to the department who is participating in the tax credit program and who the participants are employed by. A requirement that DLIR provide the department information necessary for tax claim credits, and specify that tax credits will apply to taxable years after December 31st, 2022. So in other words, 2023. We're going to add a sunset date for this pilot program of July 1st, 2027, essentially a 5-year program. And we'll specify that these tax credits are going to be good for the years 2023 through 2028. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000 and make tech amendments. Members, questions, comments on 2310? Okay, Vice Chair, 2310 with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2310 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2312. This was establishing the Women's Corrections Implementation Commission. We're going to add this section into the HRS to officially make them a commission, and we'll strike the exemption from disclosures and sunshine in order to address the concerns brought up by the Ethics Office and a number of other entities. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000 and make further technical amendments. Members, questions, comments on House Bill 2312? Okay, Vice Chair, 2312 with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2312 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the excusal of Representative McDermott. Are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2313, this is a risk assessment specifically for females. We will defect the date to July 1st, 3000 and make technical amendments. Questions, comments? Okay, Vice Chair, 2313 with amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2313 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2435, and this concerned pat downs and searches of female inmates by male correctional staff. We're going to add language to page 1, line 11. And we're just going to clarify that male employees shall not enter, quote, into an area of institution for the purpose of conducting a search of a female inmate. We'll defect the date to July 1st, 3000 and make technical amendments. Questions, comments? 2435. Okay, Vice Chair, 2435 amendments.
Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2435 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. We have 2 bills on our agenda for decision-making that were carried over from our Wednesday hearing. The first of the bill is House Bill 1738, and that related to confinement, solitary confinement. Over the course of the interim, I received a number of letters from inmates who spoke on this issue that caused me some concern. As a result, I would like to take a vote on this bill, but it still requires a little bit more massaging. So I'm going to ask that we vote on this bill the coming Wednesday. That would be February 9th. We'll have another hearing that morning, February 9th at 10:30 a.m. Once again, I'll propose that we hold decision-making on House Bill 1738 on Wednesday, February 9th at 10:30 a.m. And the hope is that that's right as we conclude in this room, in room 430. And the hope is that that's right as we conclude our hearing that morning, which is anticipated to start at 10 a.m. Okay. Thank you, members, for your indulgence. That bill just requires a little more attention. Okay. And the final bill on our agenda for decision-making, that's House Bill 2171. This is the bill that would turn PSD into 2 separate departments, which would include law enforcement, and they would also add a director of rehabilitation under the corrections department. We have a number of amendments. First, on page 9 of the bill, which describes that the Department of Law Enforcement shall be responsible for. One of those items is that the Department of Law Enforcement shall be responsible for the security of state buildings. I'm going to add that this department would also be responsible for the security of state land, state buildings, and state land. Additionally, there were a number of concerns raised by SHOPO concerning that training and the differentiation between those county and state law enforcement agencies. So working with them and working with PSD, we're going to be taking a number of the amendments in testimony from the prosecuting attorney. And just to be clear, I wrote them out, so bear with me. On House Bill 2171, on page 2, line 5, we'll remove, quote, and also county agencies. Page 2, line 15, we'll add, quote, state law enforcement. Page 3, lines 9 through 17 will read, This act also establishes a training center within the Department of Law Enforcement to provide its law enforcement entities the highest level of core and continuing education and training. The training center will be made available to federal, state, and county law enforcement agencies upon their request. The development of a Department of Law Enforcement training center where all Department of Law Enforcement trained law enforcement officers who intend to work on any island of Hawaii must be certified, will ensure that all Department of Law Enforcement officers meet the standards set. Page 4, line 1 will replace, quote, individuals with police powers with, quote, individuals trained here. Page 5, lines 3 through 10 will include, will read, quote, the legislature does not intend to impair or diminish the longstanding authority and responsibility of county police departments to enforce the laws along with state law enforcement on state lands within their respective counties. County police departments will continue to have full law enforcement authority and responsibility, and in particular, will continue to have concurrent jurisdiction with respect to state parks, state buildings, state highways, Hawaiian homelands, and state lands and facilities, period. Page 5, line 17 will add, quote, state law enforcement. Page 23, lines 14 through 18 will read, there is established within the department a Department of Law Enforcement Training Center. This center shall provide training and administering certification requirements of all Department of Law Enforcement personnel who exercise police powers in the state. Page 25, line 16, add quote, state law enforcement. Page 26, line 16 will add, quote, state law enforcement. And page 27, line 19 will add, quote, state law enforcement. Thank you for your patience with that. We have one more amendment. There was language stricken on page 26, line 21 to page 27, line 4. It dealt with the mental health report that was inadvertently left out it was taken out, but inadvertently not added back in to the new section. So we'll add that in as a subsection B on after page 32, line 11. Defective date July 1st, 3000, technical, non-substantive amendments. Who would like me to repeat that?
I have a question?
Question, comments, okay. Rep. Morikawa.
What happens to dog care?
I'm not sure.
They're not interested in that?
Some of them are moved over, some of them aren't. From my understanding, Director Otani has been reaching out to a number of different entities across the state to seek their support in moving over. Some of them have, some of them haven't. So at this point, it's just kind of a first stab of who wants to join DLE, I think would be the new department.
Okay, because when you said state lands, I'm thinking, does that mean all of the DLNR lands too?
State lands.
Which are dog care, yeah. So that's just
Yeah.
something to keep on the side. But no, this is a great effort. I think we're moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Yep, we want the law enforcement division, should they want to be able to work on the security of state lands. Rep. Kobayashi.
Thank you. My concerns were similar to Representative Morikawa's. It not only involves dog care and state lands, state parks, state conservation areas, but you might also consider what the impact might be with other state lands, including Department of Education, the two agencies that have body corporates, that is, UH is a body corporate, and the state hospital system, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation, is also a body corporate. And so they might have objections, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Kobayashi. Yep, I understand the concerns, or at least the outstanding questions. Nonetheless, I hope to vote on it. Members, questions, comments? 2171. Okay, Vice Chair.
Chair, today we heard a variety of concerns coming from advocates discussing gender-specific programming within the department. Hoping that future committees incorporate that conversation into the reorganization of the department if many of these measures don't pass. I think that they're valid concerns and they can be taken up administratively should we not pass many of these bills.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Further comments, questions? House Bill 2171. Okay, Vice Chair, 2171 with amendments, a lot of them.
There are. Members, the recommendation of the chair is to pass House Bill 2171 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excusal of Representative McDermott, are there any members voting with reservations? Are there any members voting no? Chair, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members and public. We are adjourned.